Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Devin Allen, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by our own Robert Carter from the Facilities Department. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let us pray. Lord, we honor you this day. For merely hours ago, many of us slumbered in the very image of death. But grace afforded us yet another day filled with brand new mercies. Thank you, Father, for a new year. In this year, we pray that hatred of every kind will cease and that the love that you commanded us would be on display throughout this world. We pray for immediate resolution and calm to all known conflicts that involve our country. We pray to find solutions that divide our communities. We pray that those that vow to serve us will remain true to their sacred oaths, be held to a standard, and no longer be abusers of their positions. We mourn those that lost their lives while serving others. We pray for strength for those that were impacted in white settlement. And we thank you even protecting us, for protecting those that are in that congregation that work among us. Keep us sober-minded and alert as evil walks among us. We pray that the peace of God is upon every heavy heart. And we conclude with this reminder of 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Robert. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have several announcements on today's agenda. The first one deals with purchasing. Item 8K15. We're going to hold that for 1 week. We'll bring that back next week. Also like to remind the court that we do have some appointments this morning when we get to that particular section. And then, Your Honor, members of the court, if we could just take a moment, I'm going to ask that Thomas Belton, our Veterans Affairs Officer, come to the podium and introduce an individual who we are going to ask that you recommend and approve as an Assistant Veterans Affairs Officer when it comes to my section. So with that, I'll ask Thomas to come forward. By the way, this guy is not a Marine, he's a Navy guy. Make that clear.
I was told my quota for Marines is up, so I found myself a Navy guy. Thank you very much for having us here today. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Judge. I'm here to introduce Damian Crowley, a 23-year Navy veteran who served his country honorably and retired just recently in October. Damian resides here in Fort Worth for the last 7 years. Father of 3, grandfather of 1. He's been filling a huge gap that's been left open since July of this year and has really helped out. And we're looking forward to his presence and all his administrative and legal expertise that he's going to bring to our team. And with that, I do request that you approve his appointment and with that letter to the Texas Veterans Commission so we can start his accreditation process.
Welcome, Damien.
So that is a consent item, and when you approve the consent agenda,
Okay.
then
Damien, welcome aboard. Thank you. Have a good one. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our special call meeting of December the 27th.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Allen, I believe you have a resolution.
I do. I have a resolution for ratification only, but given the historical significance of it, I wanted to read it into the record, and we were planning to present it at a community event towards the end of December of last year, but the event had to be rescheduled. So we look forward to presenting that once the new date is set. This resolution is in honor of the 72nd Company, 7th Battalion, Republic of Vietnam Airborne. Whereas it is fitting that we pay tribute to the 81 soldiers of the 72nd Company, 7th Airborne Battalion, Army of the Republic of Vietnam, who died along with 4 American service members after their plane crashed on December 11, 1965. And whereas remains of the 4 U.S. aircrew and the 81 soldiers were recovered at the crash site in 1974, and their remains were shipped to Bangkok and then a decade later to a lab in Hawaii for identification. And whereas DNA testing of bone fragments eventually named the American crew members, but South Vietnam did not have a record of its soldiers on the plane, so their remains were never identified. And whereas the members of the 72nd Company, 7th Airborne Battalion, or ARVN, went unclaimed by the Vietnam government and they became men without a country. And whereas after 54 years in limbo, the remains of the 81 South Vietnamese paratroopers were interned in a single casket on October 26, 2019 in Westminster Memorial Park, a Vietnamese refugee cemetery in Westminster, California. And whereas, may we honor and never forget these men who our United States military fought alongside against communism and oppression to achieve their dream of freedom. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby commemorate the 81 members of the Vietnamese Airborne Division and convey our deepest sympathy to the families of these brave comrades in arms who lost their lives fighting for freedom so many years ago, and after over half a century having finally reached their final resting place. The witness whereof we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed the 7th day of January 2020. And with that, I move for ratification.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next is our employee recognition. Before we get to that, I do want to recognize the fact that the Tigers will win the national championship. Here, here. I don't know whether it's going to be the Clemson or the LSU, but I am, I'm definitely going for the LSU. Jan's not here, is she? Yeah. How did that work out for y'all? But it's kind of, we've got a split family. Shannon was with UT, and my daughter went to UT, so we got a little, it was a little tense around the house all the way up until really the end of the game. So it was, so again, next week we'll know who the national champ. I thought, well, I'll wear the shirt this week just so, because next week, if the wrong Tigers win, then I may not wear the shirt. And if the right Tigers win, you're probably going to see the shirt again. So,
If the wrong Tigers win, Judge, just make sure you keep your jacket on.
it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game. So, with that, we're going to move into our employee recognition. Again, one of my favorite times of the month, because I do get a chance to recognize our employees who I think are what make Tarrant County the greatest place in the world to live, to work, to raise a family. And again, I say this, and I don't want it ever to become just given or taken for granted. You make a difference. And the way you treat the folks that you work with, work for, work just on a day-to-day basis is what makes this such a great place. And you may not, I say it all the time, people tell me this all the time. For those of y'all who don't have an opportunity to work with other counties, then I will just really reiterate the fact that you are different. And I think you make the world of a difference. And it's because of the way everybody conducts themselves from the jail to anywhere else in the county. It's what makes the difference, and we appreciate the job that you do. The drill is especially for you 5-year folks who are new. I'll call your name, you stand up, wait till don't sit back down until the whole 5-year group's been called, and then you can sit back down. If I don't pronounce your name quite right, go ahead and stand up. You know where you are in the alphabet. They'll give me fits up here, and they'll start giggling as they look down the list and anticipate how I'm going to pronounce certain names.
Maybe.
Yeah. But just work with me on that deal, and again, thank you very much for being here today. So we'll start off with our 5-year employees. The first is Randolph Anderson, Precinct 1. Charles Brogdon III, Sheriff's Office. Jennifer Bullard, County Criminal Court Number 3. Mary Cason, Criminal Court Number 2. Alejandro Chavez, Tax Office. David Cook, Judge Cook, County Criminal Court Number 1. Jose Cortez, Sheriff's Office. Eric Crowley, Sheriff's Office. Kalonji Foster, Sheriff's Office. Jimmy Gaskill, Precinct 1. Randy Hatcher, Sheriff's Office. There's Randy back there. Catherine Heflin, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Suzanne Hernandez, Elections. Linda Herod Rivez, Elections. Andrew Hodge, Sheriff's Office. Kimberly Kratchkaw, County Clerk. I saw that grin, so that means I didn't get quite right, but she at least recognized where she was in the alphabet. Peggy Lee, Medical Examiner's Office. Matthew Lauran. I didn't do too well on that one. Information Technology. You want to go ahead and tell me how that's pronounced? Yeah, that's close. Jackson McMinn, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Louis Montoya, Juvenile Services. Larry Moore, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Dustin Morin, Criminal District Court Number 1. Waving back there at the back. Sarah Phillips, County Criminal Court Number 1. David Richards, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Tina Smith, Domestic Relations Office. There's Tina. Ty Anthony Stimpson, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Waving back there. Brandy Taylor, Tax Office. And Carrie Walker, County Criminal Court Number 2. Judge Walker. Let's give all these 5-year employees a hand. Y'all can be seated. Y'all did good. Now for our 10-year employees. Joshua Adams, the Sheriff's Office. Ross Byers, Sheriff's Office. James Dawson Jr., Juvenile Services. There's James. Rebecca Fernandez, Tax Office. There she is. Sandra Guzman, Elections. Ann Hollinger, District Clerk. There's Ann. Ronnie Lee, Constable, Precinct 4. Peter Morinsky, Sheriff's Office. Waving back there at the back. Sonia Mercer, Sheriff's Office. Waving back there at the back. Michael Nelson Jr., Sheriff's Office. Not waving back there at the back. Patricia Trossman, Sheriff's Office. Cameron Wardlow, Information Technology. Timmy White, Criminal Courts. Gary Williams, Precinct 1. And Kent Williams, Jr., Sheriff's Office. These are our 10-year employees. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. Now for our 15-year employees, Lori Bennett, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Doug Black, Information Technology. There's Doug. Clint Burgess, Constable Burgess, Precinct 7. Denise Childs, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 6. Jennifer Farnham, Juvenile Services. Bill Higgins, Criminal District Attorney's Office. William, there's William. I thought I saw you earlier. Alan Hill, Sheriff's Office. Melinda Ortega, Precinct 4. Judge Chris Ponder, Probate Court Number 1. Now, he ain't been over there that long, but he's been with he's standing in the back. How tall are you, Chris?
Taller than David Hudson.
There's a little inside joke to all of that, but we'll go forward. Donald Roden, Sheriff's Office. And Tamara Thompson, Criminal District Attorney's Office. These are our 15-year employees. Thank you. Now for our 20-year employees, Suzanne Berry, the 153rd District Court. Sonia Cruz, Public Health. Judge George Gallagher, the 396th District Court, waving from the back. Michelle Grimaldo, Domestic Relations. Maria Hernandez, Public Health. There's Maria. Jennifer Hunter, the 324th District Court. Aaron Johnson, Human Services. Patrick Parker, Juvenile Services. There's Patrick. Tracy Portier, Medical Examiner. Okay. Did I get anywhere close to Poirier? Yeah, I figured I wasn't going to get too close there. I already know that one. Matthew Stucker, Sheriff's Office. These are our 20-year employees. Let's give them a hand. Now for our 25 plus, I call and talk with them. Sometimes it's pretty late, but I really got most of everybody finished. Yesterday, I guess, was my last couple of calls. Most of them I got over the weekend. The first is Bobby Bell with the Sheriff's Office. Is Bobby here? Wasn't sure he was going to be able. We talked. He was going on vacation. He was supposed to be on vacation, and he said, I might try to come in. And I said, look, he was supposed to start his travel today, and I said, go ahead and travel. But if you see Bobby or when he gets back off vacation, congratulate him on his 25 years of service with Tennant County. Next is Diane Booth with Domestic Relations, 25 years. There's Diane. Started off in court services. Then she went to work for Judge King, Sue King, and then Deborah Lehrman. And after Judge Lehrman left, she retired for a couple of years, and she said, I just couldn't stay away. Just felt like I had to come back, and she came back and worked for Judge Berger for a while, and then her old spot in family court services came back open, and she went back, and so she's now serving over in court services. She said, over the years, she said, I have just loved having the opportunity to work with the judges. She said, I've worked with some great judges. What she likes most are the different jobs that she's had. She said the stability of the county, and she said the people that I've worked with have always been so kind. They just, they're just there to help. She said the time has passed by pretty quick, and I've really loved it. Diane, thank you very, very much for your years of service to Tennant County. Next is Santiago Chavez. I wasn't wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it today. Again, he started off also in the sheriff's office. If you see Santiago, please congratulate him on his 25 years of service. Next is Jeff Hodges. There's Jeff. Saw him this morning. I figured he was going to be here. Started in the tax office in the mortgage department. After a couple of years, moved over to the assessment group, and he's now the manager of that department. He said, when I asked him about a memorable moment, he said he was accused once by a lady of murdering her father. Now, you know, we kind of giggle about that, but this was in the middle of the summer, and this lady came in a very heavy coat, and she was pretty serious about this, and you know, he kind of paused a moment and pushed the little button to say to the sheriff's department, you might want to come over here and help me, just in case, because she had her hands in her pocket. But he said, I'll never forget that day. You know, she just, you know, had a little problem for the day, and she was, you know, they worked through it, and it didn't end up being anything dangerous, but it was something that it stayed in his mind for the years. He said, what I like most is getting a real challenging tax issue and having an opportunity to sit down and work through it with the taxpayer and hopefully to the resolve of everybody. He said, I love the chance that I've had to work with the people in my department. He said the reason he came to the office was because he wanted to eventually run for office. And he did. He ran in 2000 against Betsy. Well, we know what happened. But he said, you know, he stayed on because it was a great place to work, and he said Betsy always treated him very, very well, very, very nicely. And I think that speaks to the job you did and the person that she is. So again, Jeff, thank you very, very much for your 25 years of service. Next is Judge Tom Lowe. They're having vote hour today, and we're missing a couple of our judges. He's been with the county for 25 years, and when I talked with him, what he said is that by this anniversary, he and Judge Wish and Judge Wells all have reached the 25-year mark in their time as judges with the county, and that in that they are now the longest tenured judges, and the only judge that has passed or has worked previously as a judge was a Judge Robert Bruce Young, who served from 1914 until he actually died in office in 1947. So he had been here for 32 years. And the interesting part about it is, if you go back and look, the governor then at that point in time replaced Judge Young with his son, Judge Young Jr. And so it was very interesting. But Judge Wish, Judge Lowe, and Judge Wells are all hitting the 25-year mark as a judge this month. Now, Judge Wells and Judge Wish worked in the criminal district attorney's office prior to that, so that's why we're not going to be celebrating their anniversaries. Well, we're going to talk about Judge Wish in a minute, even though I don't think he's going to be here either. But when you see Judge Lowe, thank him for his 25 years of service. Next is Nona McDonald with the 297th District Court. She said, I started out in the misdemeanor area and then to the felony division in the DA's office, and then started with Judge Hagerman in the 297th court. Memorable moment, she said, you know, it's just been where I've been at work, I've been sitting at my desk when, you know, things have happened, and she said, I always remember where I was, 9/11. She said, when Oklahoma City happened, I was at my desk. She said 2 weeks later, and she said the only time in 25 years they were sent home because of a bomb threat in the courthouse. She said, what I love about the county is the job stability. the benefits. She said, when I came to the county, I came to the county to stay. She's still having fun. And we talked about this, and very, very, very reluctantly, she agreed to let me say, happy birthday. And the way I got her to do that is I promised I wouldn't sing. And so that's kind of where we are on this. Nona, thank you very, very much for your 25 years. And the rest of the audience thanks you for not letting me sing. Next is Lori Parnham with the 372nd Court. She said she started when Judge Wish was elected in 1995. When I asked her about memorable moments, she said over time there have been so many different cases and that so many different people that she's watched come and go through the county. And she said it's bittersweet, but she said, I really love the county. I really love the people. She said she had a bout with cancer, and she said, I really missed coming to work. She said it was a place I could come to, and I was surrounded by what seemed like family folks. And she said, I really just loved it. And she said, I want to be here a lot longer. And Lori, we hope you are here a lot longer. Thank you very much for your service. Next is Connie Patton with the Medical Examiner's Office. There's Connie. Started out in the ME's office, actually came from the city of Fort Worth. And she is the DNA technical leader in the crime lab. Memorable moment, she says, we've moved the crime lab twice, and she said every time we move it, it's a memorable moment. She said she's also, over the years, she's seen several high-profile cases. She said, what I like most is the people and the way the county treats its people. When I asked her about anything else, she said, the last little while has been challenging. There's a new law that just went into place that mandates turnaround times, and that sometimes that can be a challenge. The other thing she said is that she's retiring in April. And it's the one thing she added is, in order for there to be a certified crime lab, you have to have a technical leader, and they're out there trying to find the technical leader between now and the end of April. And so there's a as the date is getting a little bit closer, the stress level or is rising in the department. And Connie, we want to just tell you how much we appreciate 25 years of service you've given to the citizens in Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is Sheila Walker with the 213th District Court. There's Sheila. She said, I started off with Judge Johnson, Mamie Johnson, then Judge Cummings, then spent some time with Judge Stearns, and now has spent a year with Judge Wolf. She said, I appreciate the professionalism of all the judges, not only that she's had a chance to work for directly, but really all of the judges in Tarrant County. She said, they're just absolutely the greatest people. She said, I have really enjoyed working with Tarrant County. And she said, the county just really has its stuff together. And I think that's something, again, I mentioned this in the beginning, and I can't say it enough. She said, we do things differently, and folks have fun. Friday was her last day. And she is retired now. I believe your husband is with you. Is your husband here with you? Stand up. I hope you're ready. Sheila, thank you so much for the 25 years. Thank you for letting her work and being with Tarrant County. I need to say that differently. For sacrificing and knowing that she's here doing the work that she needs to be doing and that she loves to do. Sheila, thank you again so much. Next is this person that we always love to abuse, Tom Wilder, District Clerk. 25 years, was elected in 1995. When I asked him about memorable moments, he said, the first week I was in office, I got sued by then Comptroller John Sharp. And he said, I didn't quite understand that I got sued individually, as well as district clerk. The other thing he said he was thankful for and remembered was the fact that Dana Womack, now retired Judge Dana Womack, had represented his office for the DA, or from the DA's office, and he had a great deal of respect for her. What he likes most is the problem solving, the resources that the county provides. And he said also having an opportunity to watch people develop and move up in the county. He said the other thing that, I have learned over the years is you think you know when you hire someone what's going to happen. But he said time and again, you just don't know, and he kind of used this, it's kind of like a box of chocolates, as we've heard said before. So, Tom, thank you so much for your 25 years of service. Now, I mentioned earlier that Judge Scott Wish is also celebrating 25 years. He's also in the middle of a voir dire, and so he couldn't make it. But the other thing he said is Judge Wish was actually with the county for 31 years. He went off, he spent 6 years in the DA's office, and then went into private practice, and then came back and was elected in 1995. So he's actually spent 31 years with the county. I don't know if we got any spare 30-year pins, but maybe we ought to send him a spare 30-year pin. One of the things that he said, it's been a pleasure and an honor to work in Tarrant County wearing whatever hat he might be wearing at the time. He said, my contacts with peers throughout the decades has also made me grateful to have been blessed enough to land here in Mr. Curry's office. He was hired by District Attorney Tim Curry for that job interview and get to stay. So if you see Judge Wish, thank him for his 31 years of service to Tarrant County. Next is Kim Abelet for 30 years of service. Is she here? She's over here. Okay, there you are. I thought you were going to be here. Started out she's in IT, started out in data services with the old IBM System 36, worked on the Dun & Bradstreet conversion, and then worked with the SAP and is continuing to still support that. Memorable moments, she said the tornado. Also, she was here for the shootings that we've had here in the courthouse. She said, I love my job. She said the variety, I've always liked the changing in technology. She also said, that was before I called her back and I said, okay, tell me what's happened over the last 5 years. And she said, well, I got married back in April. And she says, and she's retiring the end of February. And she said, it has absolutely been a great 30 years. And back up to what she likes most, she said, I can't tell you now how glad I am that the county required me to put 7% a year away into retirement. Because she said, I'm just not absolutely sure that I'd have done that if they hadn't required it and pulled it out of every one of my paychecks. And I think that is true, because a lot of times when you 5-year people are just maybe getting to the point to where you recognize that. You 15 and 20-year people you've passed the point, you do recognize it. But it's something that we're blessed, and it's something that it's one of the strongest benefits, in my opinion, that the county has to offer. Kim, thank you very much, and good luck in your retirement. Now, next is Alan Hunter. He is in the sheriff's area of courts, but he's not going to be able to make it. He's out right now and couldn't make it back in today. Next is Dana Kuhn, County Court of Law number 2. Is she here? She's not going to be able to make it, but again, when next you see her, please congratulate her on her 30 years of service to the county. Next is Pam Walker, the auditor's office. Where's Pam? There's Pam. She actually started off in the elections area and then went to the auditor's office and has been there for 29 years. When she started in the elections area, it was just as this year is. It was a general election year. She said, I started working on January the 2nd. Her son was 3, and she worked from January 2nd, and that by the time the primary was completed, she had 6 weeks of comp time. So it just goes to tell you how many hours that she was working at that point in time. She said one of the other things that she's had a chance to do over the years, she got to meet Harold Taft and a couple of other celebrities through the years. She said, what I like most is that the people are awesome, that people pull together to help one another, that everyone stands together to help whatever the need is. It may be bikes for CPS kids. There's so many different things we do. One day, I'm looking at this, and this was, again, 5 years ago. One day she went to lunch and went to work out, and when she came back downstairs, her office and the whole area had been taped off as a result of a diesel engine blowing a gasket. And so, that kind of, she was now left in her workout clothes. When I asked her what had happened since last we talked, her son's now 33 and works at Lockheed. She has a daughter who works with CSCD. She has a 4-year-old granddaughter from her son. She said, again, the bittersweet is that I've seen a lot of good friends retire. But she said, I take so much pride in being a part of Tarrant County, and that pride is there because of things that you've done for us, Pam. And we appreciate very, very much the 30 years of service you've given us. Thank you.
Judge, her daughter is
Stand up, please. And we'll look forward to recognize you as you have your years with the county. Next is someone we all recognize, Alice Moore. 35 years. Stand up. She started out with the DA's office in worthless checks, and then she moved to police intake. What did I say?
Worthless checks.
Well, she was in the worthless check area. I didn't mean that you started out because you had written a worthless check. Well, I'm sorry. Those things happen. Those things happen. She moved to police intake, and then she moved over to JD's office. Again, from the memorable moments, she and I lived together in a double wide for the first year I was in office, and we were in the process of remodeling the sub-courthouse, and it was an interesting year and a half. She said, I love the people. She said, there's something different that goes on here every day. It's a big family, and there's a lot of people who've been here a long time. She said she knew she wanted to be here forever when she came. She has 2 of her children are in the police area. One's the chief of police in Sanson Park, and I believe she's here. Why don't the whole Moore clan just stand up right here, right now? She has a son that I believe is in Colorado City now on the police force. You're shaking your head like, am I right or am I wrong? Or
She's right. He's a lieutenant on the police force, and then our other brother's a councilman in Colorado.
that's what I thought. She said that 2 of them are in Colorado City, and she said that's interesting. 2 children. I'm gonna just drop down. She has 3 daughters. One's an RN at JPS. One's a nurse, I believe, out in Weatherford. And I just introduced the one that's the chief of police in Sanson Park. And Debbie, who is an adopted daughter. And she has 9 grandchildren. And I think we got some of the grandchildren here today. Y'all stand up. Y'all just stand up. So we are glad you're here. Great grandkids. So you got great grand? They're at school. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
My sister made it.
Your sister, okay. So like I said, it's the whole clan. Alice, we can't even begin to tell you how much you've meant to Tarrant County over the years, and I know what she's meant to JD and everything in your office.
She's been wanting to retire for about the last 5 years. I keep telling her, like GK, you can retire.
Whenever that comes up, I basically have said she will retire either 5 minutes before or 5 minutes after you retire, I think. So, Alice, thank you for your 35 years of service. Next is Andrea Zeitzen, District Clerk's Office. Now, she started out in child support working with Mary Sue Miller, and then went to personnel with Tina and with Gerald, and then went to the District Clerk's Office. She's basically now in the collections area. Memorable moments, she said, were some of the practical jokes. She wouldn't elaborate too much on that. She said that the 2 years while she was in personnel, her dad was sick and eventually passed away. And she said the staff that were there were there for her just through the thick and thin. And she couldn't have enough good to say about Tina and then about Gerald from that perspective. She said, I love my job. I love the co-workers. It really is a big family. She said, I've been proud to be a part of the county. She said, I owe Tom a lot, that he's given her a lot of opportunities. When I talked with her this time, she said, you know, she's still not ready to retire. She said, I enjoy. Yeah, you better hang on to that, Tom. She says she now has a grandbaby that's 2 years old and actually has an adopted grandchild that's 12 years old, and that she just kept saying how much she loves the job over that time frame, but you better be careful because those grandbabies will make a difference. I can absolutely guarantee you that. But she said, I have a great deal of respect for Tom and the job that he does, and he, you know, she said he is not near as gruff and ornery as everybody might want to think he is.
I don't know about that.
Well, here's what I said to her. I said, there's only one mansion in heaven that's going to be bigger than the one you have, and that's going to be the one Charlene has. And that St. Peter's going to be looking like he's in the slums compared to the place where they're going to be. Andrea, thank you so much for your 35 years of service. Folks, that's 1,120 years of service. Wow. And just the folks that we have recognized here today. You do make a difference. We appreciate you very much. We have cookies back in 504C, and this is one time when I can't tell Wilder he can't get back there.
I want everybody to get out of his way.
Yeah, he'll head back there pretty quick. So thank y'all very much. I was looking for, yeah, I did. I was just dreaming of the good old days. Did you know the person over there that's from the tax office? Yeah. Did you know his wife is the tech star? Who's the lady that picked Jody?
So were you here to see?
Jeffrey Hollis. She's back there, right there. She's back there, and I'm saying, wait a minute. I said, are y'all married? I said, I just one of those things. Jeff Hodges is married to Jody Hodges, who used to be with Textile. No, you missed it. It was already over. You had it changed. I'll let you. Just out of the kindness of my heart.
Thank you.
Okay, all the GK stuff is
I'm going to move that we receive and file the employee recognition.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Allen, I believe you had an announcement.
Yes. Well, I wanted to be sure to share with you all here today in the listening community that we have a series of elections equipment demonstrations that we're hosting throughout Precinct 2. The first of which will be in about 2 weeks, Thursday, January 23rd, and we'll have 3 others between then and the start of early vote. And please save the date for Thursday, February 20th. We will have an open house for our Mansfield Subcourthouse, where we will continue our toiletry drive benefiting TCC Southeast Campus. So please come to one or more, any of those events. And of course, with the elections equipment demonstrations and any of our events, they're completely open to the public, and anyone throughout the county is more than welcome to attend. That's it. Thank you.
Court members, you have before you the consent agenda. A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
We received and filed employee recognition.
We did.
Yes, we did. Let's see how far down I gotta go. Ms. Tidwell.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Renee.
We have 3 items we're asking the court to consider this morning. The first is the approval and release of $930 million of collateral as outlined in your court communication.
Move for approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The next item is we're asking you to receive and file the auditor's report of the review of the financial system controls for Constable Precinct 2, and you have the constable's response attached. Be happy to answer any questions.
Move for. Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our third item, we're asking the court to receive and file the auditor's report for the fiscal year ended 2019 for Chapter 59 asset forfeiture reports prepared and distributed to the Attorney General's Office for the Criminal District Attorney's Office.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Helen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Risk Management Board is requesting approval of 2 payments for full and final settlement for totaled vehicles.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Receive and file personnel agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Good morning and thank you.
Good morning, Ange.
We have several additional items. All of these are waivers of terminal benefits. The first one is for the 234th First District Court. This is Judge Navarez. Requests a waiver for his court reporter effective February 8th. This will be for approximately 368 hours at a cost of almost $26,000.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The second second waiver is also for a court reporter position. This is in the 352nd. Judge Burgess is requesting a waiver for 336 hours effective January 11th. This cost will be approximately $23,700.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
They get less expensive.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The
Not
third
much.
waiver is for the auditor's office. This is for the first assistant county auditor. Ms. Tidwell is requesting a waiver for 184 hours effective tomorrow, the 8th, cost being approximately $19,500.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The fourth is for Constable Precinct 1. This is for a deputy constable position effective on the 13th of January for approximately 336 hours at a cost of $2,400.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And the last one is for the Criminal District Attorney's Office. This is a Managing Attorney 3 position effective January 21st. Approximately 400 hours here with a net cost of about $10,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
The Razorback.
Come on down.
Did Mr. Early see your shirt? See you in the audience when you did what you did?
Yeah, he's shaking his head, yes. Being from someplace that wears a pig head, I don't think I'd be talking too much about it.
That is the extreme definition of low bid, something you can't re-gift. But
What's your pig head?
you're sure. But we have 6 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid 2020-025, signing a contract for grease, lint, oil, and sand trap cleaning services. Recommendation would be to award a per enterprise basis, awarding to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors as shown in the court communique.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 2 is also a bid recommendation for bid 2020-028, signing a contract for specialized electrical services for facilities management. Recommendation would be to award a per hourly labor rate, markup for parts, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 3, also a bid award recommendation for bid 2020-040. This is a bid for the purchase of an offset printing press for our reproduction center. Recommendation would be to award to Ordway Corporation, amount of $82,837.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is this replacing the one that's always breaking?
Yes, sir.
No, it's the one that's always working. I think I wanted this kind of, it's one of those things that some days it feels good, it works, and some days it doesn't.
Will be said for a lot of us.
I know, but this is a machine. Okay.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 4, bid award recommendation for bid 2020-042. This is a new annual contract for asphalt release agents. Recommendation would be to award on a per enterprise basis and a discount from list price, awarding to the 6 primary vendors as shown in the court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 5, another bid award recommendation for bid 2020-045. This is a contract for self-propelled reclaimer stabilizers. Recommendation would be to award on a per enterprise basis, selecting as our 2 primary vendors Kirby Smith Machinery and RB Everett and Company.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Last item, number 6, also a bid award recommendation for bid 2020-048. This is a new annual contract for emergency vehicle equipment installation. Recommendation would be to award on a per enterprise basis, awarding to the 4 primary vendors as shown in court communique.
Move approval. Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Are there any appointments today?
I've passed out one I think everyone has a copy of for Historical Commission, Michael Matos. You pronounce the last name, Judge, and I'll laugh.
Second.
Thank you.
Well, I'd pronounce it, but I ain't got it. Wait a minute, maybe I do.
Well, he's gonna have to,
Yep, there it is.
with him. Historical.
I got a motion and I got a second for whoever for who he's wanting to appoint. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Any other appointments? And you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have motion and second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Mangus.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have two items for you this morning. The first is a brief update on the seasonal influenza from Mr. Tanaja.
Morning, Benny.
Morning.
Good morning, Lee.
How are y'all doing? So I don't have any formal slides to present today, but we will talk about influenza briefly. You know, if you've been around in Tarrant County, you know that we've had a lot of flu-related problems. Almost everybody's experienced some kind of a respiratory illness. They usually either have experienced or have family members or friends who've had the flu, where they've been to the doctor and were told they had the flu and got on antivirals. Most of us have had our flu shot, but it still does happen from time to time that we end up in a bad flu year. This year is turning out to be quite extraordinary from flu activity standpoint. Last time we saw that was in 2017-18 season, where we had a huge spike. Last year we had a little bit of a break, but this year again is a very, very heavy flu year. Typically, we don't have influenza cases reported to us on a case-by-case basis. They're not required to be reported by law. Just the volume is too much, quite honestly. That's why. But the way we do surveillance is many other different methods are used. The typical method that most people are familiar with is influenza-like illness surveillance. So that is, by definition, anybody who has a fever of 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit with a fever and or a sore throat in the absence of any other known cause other than influenza. So if there's no other diagnosis to attach to it, it's classified as influenza-like illness. So why we use that is because in the flu season, flu gets so widespread in our communities, it's sort of like gauging the temperature of the water in a bathtub. You put your hand in the water. If it's cold, it's cold. If it's warm or hot, same thing. You sort of dip your surveillance mechanism into the community and find out what's the temperature of your community, how widespread the activity of flu is in your community. So right now, we are at a high level of widespread flu activity in 40 states in the country. Texas obviously has had a lot of problems. In our community in Tarrant County, influenza-like illness, percentage-wise, at about 11.5%. I think in 2017-18, we peaked at about 13%. So we're approaching that peak. And that percentage is number of people showing up to hospital ERs or doctor offices that have that definition, influenza-like illness. So that's a huge, huge volume of people that are, getting influenza-like illness symptoms. Texas, as a state, has surpassed its 2017-18 peak. We're at almost 16% of people with ILI, with influenza-like illness in the state of Texas. So that's a huge number of people showing up with respiratory symptoms, with a fever, cough, sore throat. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody has influenza. They have probably other viral or bacterial illnesses that do have those symptoms, but the hope is that they eventually get a diagnosis of something else. But it still sort of gives you a gauge of what's happening in your community from a respiratory illness standpoint. So it's a good indicator of what's been going on. Another indicator that we use is death surveillance. Now, adult deaths are, again, not typically reportable to public health in most states. What we use is pediatric deaths. They're an indicator of the severity of influenza season. Unfortunately, Tarrant County has had 3 pediatric deaths reported this season, which is rare. Last time we had a pediatric death reported was 2015. So we don't have those every year. Even in the severe flu season of 2017-18, we did not have a reported flu death. So 3 in a short amount of time here tells us that it's a very, very severe season that we're experiencing. What's also unusual about this year is that we got an early start. We started to see influenza activity spike late October, early November. That was about a month ahead of time. Typically, we see that activity start right after Thanksgiving in the last week of November or early part of December. And what we also found was that influenza B is predominant circulating this in the early part of the season. So that part is done through laboratory surveillance. So that's the other component, that we do get some samples that we test and figure out what kind of viruses are out there. Again, it sort of helps better understand what's predominant in the community at this point. And all of that surveillance data is fed to, again, pharmaceutical industries through various mechanisms so that they can gauge how to generate the vaccine for the next season. So they do surveillance in the northern hemisphere to figure out what vaccine to produce for the southern hemisphere and vice versa, because flu does go around all year across the globe. So influenza B is predominant, but influenza A also added on, and it sort of started a couple of weeks ago, which is its usual time. You know, early to mid-December is when influenza A typically picks up every year. We usually see a spike happening in like mid-December, and we had that spike with influenza A, so it added on to what we were already experiencing with influenza B, leading to a very, very heavy season. So what we're hoping is that we get through it without much more damage, but it's looking like there's going to be a lot more coming our way, because state of Texas data is showing that they've created a new peak in their data, and we're following behind. National picture isn't looking any better. 40 states are at widespread flu activity. We're still in January. Typically, we see a big peak of flu in February, so we still have some time to go. But the messages to the public and to our provider community are the same, that you need to take a flu shot if you haven't taken one. There's some questions about whether we should take a second flu shot. In a general season, there's really no need. It's not typically recommended. Very few instances where CDC would recommend that. Usually when there's a pandemic virus out there, a new virus, they might say, okay, let's get a second flu shot to boost your immunity against that virus. Or in very rare instances when somebody is immunocompromised, they have transplant or other underlying health conditions, they need to check with their doctor, depending on what they got. If they got the high-dose flu vaccine, the doctor might still say, no, you don't need it. But if they got the regular flu vaccine, the doctor might say, okay, let's see, when you got the flu vaccine, if 4 to 6 weeks have passed, you might be a candidate for a second flu vaccine. But in typical scenarios, it's not recommended to get a second flu shot. But if you haven't had a flu shot, certainly it's the time to get a flu shot. And the second key thing is that if you think you have the flu and you have those typical signs and symptoms where you've got the fever, cough, sore throat, body aches, then you certainly need to be visiting a doctor. And there's many different ways. You don't have to go to your primary care if you can't get in. You can go to an urgent care. You can go to one of those minute clinics at the pharmacies. Or now your apps for your insurance companies usually have doctors on the video call with the phone. So many different mechanisms to use to see a doctor and get on antivirals early. They work best in the first 48 hours to start reducing the symptoms and to shorten the duration of illness and to reduce complications. After 48 hours, they still do work, and they do help prevent deaths, but their efficacy starts to decline, because then influenza has really taken a hold of your body and it's going to run its course. So antivirals early, and then finally, if you think you're sick, stay home. I know it's very hard to do, but stay home when you're sick is a key message. Cough in your sleeve, sneeze in your sleeve, and wash your hands throughout the day. I mean, those are just common sense messages that we repeat every year, but we need to make sure that, again, people are reminded. We're sending out a health alert today to our medical providers so that they're reminded and they're aware that there have been 3 influenza-related pediatric deaths in our community. That way they have that high index of suspicion that they're going to treat aggressively, and remind any clients who might be left out and kind of debating about getting the vaccine that this is the time to get the vaccine. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you.
What can you provide in terms of an update on the availability of vaccines? Is that a cause for concern this year?
Right now, no, and it is available, and again, literally at every corner, so you have good coverage. I mean, of course, the public health departments have it, and then, of course, a lot of our pharmacy partners at various retail locations, at pharmacies, at grocery stores, and many other locations, they have these available. So at this point, we're not aware of any pending shortages. But definitely a good opportunity for now to go get a flu shot if you haven't already taken one. And again, mostly the 3 strain vaccine is being phased out. It's still available. So certainly check with your pharmacy provider or a doctor's office that you're getting the 4 strain, the quadrivalent. But most people are mostly ordering those because it makes better sense to have 4 viruses in the vaccine and be protected versus the 3.
And when you remind me, for that latter, the 4 strain or quadrivalent, is that what the Tarrant County employees were provided?
Yes, okay. That is correct. We only ordered the quadrivalent. Okay. Any other questions?
Thanks, Vin.
All right, thank you.
Finally, members of the court, on item B, this is the monthly update from the hospital district. Mr. Early is here to address the court at this time.
Mr. Manius, thank you, Court. You noticed in Vinny's presentation to y'all, which is our fortunate situation to have a public health department led by him and the team that we got, because we have an excellent public health department. But you'll notice that he did not say report to the JPS emergency room if you think you have the flu. Your odds of getting the flu are significantly greater when you show up at the JPS emergency room with suspected flu, because we tend to be the epicenter for that. So if you think you have the flu and you show up at the JPS emergency room, there's a good chance you will have the flu when you leave. So, Vinny, thank you very much for not including us in the 4 stops that you should stop should you think you have it. And his presentation was excellent, because that's exactly right. And everything that he said to do and the precautions you need to take are definitely very much that. A couple things that I wanted to update you all on, and I think the first update is probably the most significant. For the past 10.5 years, we have had the luxury of having a chief operating officer by the name of Bill Whitman. And Bill was a stalwart for medical care in this area for his time that he spent at THR and then the time that he spent at JPS. But it is a time in his life where retirement is important to him, and he has 2 beautiful grandchildren, and he has a time that he wants to spend outside of the healthcare network. He announced about a year ago that he would be retiring. We went through an extensive search. Bill will be leaving the organization on February 1st, and his replacement is a woman that I think very highly of. He will be replaced by Dr. Karen Duncan. Dr. Duncan is currently on our staff, and we were introduced to Dr. Duncan by you all. You as county hired Dr. Duncan and the HMA consulting group to come in. Dr. Duncan started her career as a physician at Cook County in Chicago, which is the largest public hospital system in the nation. She left there and then went to Grady in Atlanta, the 2nd largest public health system, where she spent 17 years both as an active physician and as an administrator. After she left there, she joined HMA and became a national consultant for healthcare and its delivery. That's how we met her. We were so impressed with what she did for the county. Over the holidays, I spent time with her and asked her if she would assume that role, and she readily accepted. So I think that she will make this county proud. I think she'll make you, as commissioners that care very much about our healthcare system. Very proud, and I think she'll do an excellent job. I think every box there is to check, she can check off. And I think you will enjoy working with her. I already appreciate her expertise and how she's helped me. I think she'll help the organization. I do want to provide a special thanks to Bill Whitman because he's been a great individual, and he has dedicated his time and his talents to this community, and particularly to JPS and what he saw. And I owe a debt of gratitude, particularly as at that time, 11 years ago, for me coming in as a CEO that didn't have the expertise and the background that he had in healthcare, his augmenting of me and, in essence, mentoring me. He did an excellent job, and I owe a debt of gratitude to him for his professional skills and his friendship professionally. He is a great man, and I appreciate him very much. So we reluctantly will say goodbye to Bill in his retirement, wish him best as he goes to every basketball game and program at school. He told me that he is a proud member of the Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol is something that he is proud. I think he gets a badge for that, and he will be part of the school safety program at his children's school. So he will transition from COO to Paw Patrol, and I expect he will do exceptionally well at that.
Well, we certainly want to thank Bill Whitman for his service to Tarrant County and for mentoring a baby CEO to the point where he had the wisdom to hire Dr. Karen Duncan as the next COO of John Peter Smith Hospital. I thank you for that choice, and I look forward to her leadership of our healthcare network.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your words, and I appreciate y'all, and I appreciate you in your efforts that you helped us with the writing of the RFP for our proposal. Our proposal and the responses are due back on January 23rd. I think that proposal became heightened with y'all's input and became a much better proposal. I think the board did an excellent job. And for those counties that don't have the working relationship that we have with y'all, from a public hospital to an elected official, commissioner's court, that have the best interests of your constituents, I feel sorry for those who don't, because our working relationship is one that should be envied, and I appreciate it. And as we move forward with the bond program, I'm very pleased by that. So we will weight those. We've had 2 sets of answers to general questions that went out. We had 165 participate in the pre-proposal. So for anybody in the audience, if you are one of those 165 that participated, congratulations. There's obviously stiff competition, which I think says a lot about you all as a court and us as a hospital. When you get that many that want to make it a better system, that is, I think, very positive.
One more thing, and I'm sure you're probably going to get to this, but I want to thank Charlie Powell for his leadership as chair of the Board of Managers for so many years. Charlie, you provided excellent stewardship, not only for JPS, but on behalf of this Commissioner's Court, to provide health care to those who are health care indigent in Tarrant County. We appreciate you for your compassionate service and for your business expertise that you brought to that position. You will be sorely missed.
Definitely.
Let me mention our new board chair and tell you a little bit about that, and I appreciate the precursor, Commissioner. Dr. Chuck Weber will be coming in as our new chair. His vice chair will be Ms. Dorothy Dubose, and our secretary will be Roger Fisher. That's a strong team that will be coming in to take over. the realm of our leadership from a board standpoint, and I look forward to working with them. I have worked with them. They've all been chairs of committees, and we work very well together, and I look forward to that. Dr. Weber has provided a good number of years of his life dedicated to the patients that come through the front doors at JPS, both as the chairman of our surgery department, as a dedicated staff member, as a trainer and a leader for our residents. And I don't think you're going to meet many folks with the caliber of the chairs that we've had at JPS, on from Trent Petty to Ralph Emerson to Scott Fisher to Charlie Powell and the likes of Chuck Weber and Steve Montgomery. They're following a very significant pattern of really quality people, and Dr. Weber will assume that role. He's already in that position now. He'll be having his first board meeting in February. So we have a really strong team that's coming in. But I too want to thank Mr. Powell, and I have the luxury of having my back to him so I don't have to make eye contact with him because he's not much for accolades. So when we had the Christmas party, it was a challenge because Charlie did not want any parting sort of accolades or even gifts. So when Mr. Powell suggested strongly to my staff, to me, that we not get him anything upon his departure, I thought, well, he's not going to be chair anymore, so I don't really have to listen. So what we did was we went to the source of true power in the Powell family, and we went to Mrs. Powell, known by most of us as Senator Powell, and we asked her. And so what she suggested, which was a great suggestion, is that our gifts to Mr. Powell, which would be exactly in the realm of what the man Charlie Powell is, all of our board members made donations to our foundation in Charlie's name. And I think that speaks volumes to the kind of person Charlie Powell is, because it's constantly a giving back. So I personally want to thank Charlie Powell. He's had to put up with me on a weekly basis because on a minimum we talk once a week on a scheduled call, and then usually we talk once a day on an unscheduled call. And he's had to put up with that. So if any of you have any dreams of grandeur, of wanting to be the chair of JPS, you have to talk to me every day. Think about that before you jump into that position.
Pity that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all the report that I have. I could not get my 45-deck slide to Mr. Manius in advance of this, so we're not going to have my 45-slide deck presentation that I had planned for you. I'm really sorry, Commissioner Johnson, but I will personally come by your office and present it to you because I know that you are sad right now.
I'll be waiting on it.
Yes, sir. I know you will, and I can just think of the choice words you will provide me when I walk into your office. Judge, commissioners, thank you all very much. I wish you the best in 2020, and I can't tell you how proud I am to continue to work with you all and be able to allow our public hospital to be the best it can with y'all's cooperation and relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you all very much.
Robert, before you leave, would you have some words with Roderick Miles, please?
Do you want them, Roderick?
He looks as surprised as you do.
Not publicly.
I will be happy to have words with him. I'm having words with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Your Honor, that's all we have at this time.
And we will recess our open meeting and proceed to close to discuss items exempt under Section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code. Having returned from our closed session and there being no business to conduct at this time, we are adjourned, but it didn't start. Hey, did your recording start?
Yes.
We're through.